State health officials say they have already provided guidance to your water systems following at least 7 cyber attacks on water systems across the country. The Mississippi Department of Health says it outlined the specific vulnerabilities exploited during the recent attacks. It said no systems have been attacked yet here in the Magnolia State. Interim third-party manager Ted Hennepin says Jackson Water's operations contractor has reviewed its exposure to a cyber threat. Hennepin says it determined Jackson Water's systems are well protected with a low potential for a successful attack. Hennepin added the utility is using some federal funding to improve its supervisory data system.